and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I've prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th dimension. As always, I want to thank you for subscribing, liking, and commenting. And I will start reading. Lorrayne. What was the meaning behind the many dancing nurses we witnessed in TikTok videos gone viral during the pandemic? They seemed happy to have time off and did it quite publicly, even though they knew that the public was being told that hospitals were overwhelmed with patients from the famous flu. I cannot say the name because it gets tagged right away. These patients did not actually exist. Now hospitals are full of patients who have side effects from this thing that they gave them, and we don't hear a peep from them. Even during Nazi Germany, it was the nurses that helped exterminate people and children. We even had a name for them, the killing nurses. We know that the medical industry is dark, but is there something particularly attractive in the nursing profession for dark people to go towards? We know that there are also good nurses like Carolyn, for example, and Carolyn is my QHHT practitioner, and she is a light worker. She's one of the 12,000 and definitely on the team of the light. So clearly, this is a question that does not apply to all nurses. All right, so we know that there are also good nurses, as there are always good people in every profession. But there also seems to be a particular lack of consciousness in this field. Why? And again, the medical industry we've seen, now we know, in hindsight, we know that the medical industry is basically pretty much sponsored by the military complex. In fact, these, and I don't even know if I can say that, hopefully this video doesn't get taken down, but basically all their research is financed by the military complex. So we know they're very tight, and we know that the medical industry has been the main way to basically have the dark's plans be carried through. You know, we've seen it in the last 3 years. So I was really curious about this, especially because those TikTok videos of these nurses dancing while people technically on paper are dying in the streets was quite disturbing to me. All right, so me, this is the 25th answer. Yes, so well, two things here. One, there are systems that are darker than others. Well, all of them, we already said, have been either created by the dark or controlled by the dark. Some are particularly dark, like the medical system is one of them. This has been the main system to where the dark has taken out people. It's just as simple as that, or made them sicker or whatever. And again, we're talking from a 3D perspective because we know the essence has to choose to go through these experiences. So nobody can make me do anything, okay? So we know this. We're talking from a matrix perspective. At the same time, so we said, the reason we said there are a couple of reasons is because the dark, this is why they're brilliant. They've been brilliant. They've been able to manipulate and to make things look appealing. And we don't like to use these words, but we'll use these words just to clarify our thought to good people, and it's good, quote unquote. So the dark has been able to make things appealing to what we consider good people. We already said good means nothing. What is good, right? And then we're laughing here. Generally, good is whatever we think of a person when they agree with us. You know, they're doing the things that we would do, therefore they're good. Everybody else is doing things differently that I wouldn't do, means they're bad. So we know this means nothing. It's a completely subjective judgment because we like to judge here. Okay, but we're using these terms just to clarify our thought, to express ourselves. So the dark has been great, fantastic, and making things look like they're good when they're extremely dark. And therefore, they're able to attract good people, even people who mean to do well, who mean well, just like Carolyn, for example. Carolyn is one of the 12,000. She's on the team of the light. And again, doesn't mean she's better than anybody else who is a nurse, who might be on the team of the dark, or leaning towards the dark. We know this. There is no judgment. However, it's easy for Carolyn to think, oh, that's where we save life. And she's done a lot of good, of course. She saved a lot of people. She's helped a lot of people. She's gone through some really tough times. Because at the same time, she sees a lot of darkness and she's aware of it. And she's having a very hard time, for example, right now, doing her job because she's seen a lot of things. And now she's consciously aware of what it means, what she's actually seeing. So, of course, there are a lot of, again, quote unquote, good people in these systems, just like when Clea was part of the banking world and she was starting out. And she wasn't, at the highest echelons, knowing exactly what was going on behind the scenes. But generally speaking, in general terms, these systems have been set up by the dark. So, of course, if you're a person of the dark, not only will you be attracted to these systems, and again, many of us, if you want a job, you're going to be in some dark system. We already said there's nothing that is of the light, that has been of the light, okay? There's no industry that's been of the light. But I mean, technically, you don't have to go into one of the darkest systems, like the government, the church, or, religion, or the medical, or the war system. Maybe you can go into something that's a little milder. You could be farming, okay? You could be a farmer. And again, farming has also been turned, is controlled by the dark. But there are still many people who do farming. They're actually trying to make a positive difference. They're actually of the light, and that's okay. Again, we're generalizing here. So the point we're trying to make is that, it's also a choice, because at a higher self level, we know what we're doing. So the moment you're going into one of these very dark systems, you have two choices. Either you compromise, and again, if you're in the middle, maybe you start sliding. Doesn't mean you're going to go all the way to making sacrifices, but you're sliding because you're interested in that vibration. Or you go into the system and then somehow you find your way out. In Clea's case, it was because you wanted to travel. So she wasn't thinking, oh my gosh, banks are evil. She was thinking, what do I want to do with my life? In Carolyn's case, because she's been there a long time and she's doing this work consciously, she's aware of what she's aware of right now. She's doing it because she's bringing light, just like you mentioned when you said you were dealing with a political situation. You were part of your local administration and you didn't last very long, but it was your choice and you knew what you were dealing with. So you were actually aware in that case. So you could be aware or unaware. But the fact is, it's also a place where a lot of the people who do want to lean towards the dark or who are of the dark, like we've seen a lot of doctors gleefully poisoning their patients, ignorance is not an excuse. You're a doctor. How is it possible that a random person who does a completely different job, has no medical degree, has done enough? And we're talking at 3D level, okay? We're not even talking from the point of view, how can something that's full of toxic products now be good for you? But okay, all right, this is magical thinking. But even from a 3D level, don't tell me that somebody that went on the internet did enough research to at least question, and you're a doctor and you're questioning nothing. Because of course you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of making your patient sick, if not dead. Do you see? That's okay for these people. They went in fully knowing and they're okay with that. And again, I know it's hard. I know it's hard considering what we've gone through here, but there is no judgment. Because truly, at the end of the day, nothing has happened. We are all safe. We're all in the 25th, and we're taking this down. We want to remind you of this because it's easy to get caught up, especially in the things we have experienced so recently, where we have felt so helpless, so attacked. But anyway, we're just trying to explain that it's so much easier. A lot of these niches have been, again, controlled by the dark. So people that are within the dark ranks or are okay with the dark, they would fit right in. This is perfect for them. These doctors can tell themselves, I am a good person. I save lives. Meanwhile, they're killing and maiming left and right. And they can still tell themselves, honestly, believe in it, but I save lives. So these are the games we wanted to play. So why these nurses? It's not that nursing is a particularly dark profession. It's that the entire medical system is one of the main pillars of the system that has allowed the dark to continue their agenda, again, on par with religion. And it's been growing because, of course, religion is a much older institution in that sense. We all know from an intel perspective how much work they've had to do to create the situation with the medical system that we have now, where basically if you dare go outside of the narrative, they de-license you and you're not a doctor anymore because all they want is uniform people that do whatever they're told. So again, from an intel perspective, we could go into it and talk about it at length. But bottom line is, in regards to this question, is not that nurses are particularly dark, of course, we're generalizing, is that the entire medical system, just like government, just like the military, they're extremely dark. So it's very easy to see some really dark things happen. We see war from the military. Not only, we don't see what's happening behind the scenes, which is that they make up these wars, right? To them, it's nothing to go and kill millions of people in different countries. I mean, they wanted to do it here with the medical system. So what difference does it make, right? Killing is killing. The politicians are happy to just take money from whoever. But again, a lot of them are also being not only bribed, but they're also being threatened. So we also have to understand things are not black and white the way that we like to judge them. Oh, that's a bad person. He did a bad thing. He's a bad person. I would never do that. The truth is, generally speaking, you don't know what you would do unless you were in the same circumstance. And just because you wouldn't do, that does not make you a better person than the other. We are all one. So yeah, we hope that answers the question, because I know that many have been appalled by this behavior of the nurses. But again, was there a behavior where they were laughing and dancing while technically there was a pandemic going on? Is that behavior any better than the doctors who continue giving these things to newborns, even though these newborns are then affected for life or even die? They die from the shots that they give. They give sometimes 6, 8, 9 shots the same day just because they need to make money. They don't have time, and all the things that are convenient for them. But again, we also know that the newborn is not a victim. The newborn would have chosen a certain experience. But you see, again, these are very low quality experiences we have available here. So yes, nurses have been very much a tool of the dark. Doesn't mean every nurse that lived during Nazi Germany was a killing nurse, of course. Doesn't mean every nurse that has lived through the pandemic is of the dark. Again, we use Carolyn as an example. And so people who don't want to deal with that will find a way out. People that are okay with all of this will go along. And you just see what that looks like. Yeah, of course, they don't have time now. They're taking care of all the people that are in hospitals because of heart attacks, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't have a problem with that. They're back to normal business. This is what they were doing before. They weren't questioning why people are sick in the first place, not just now from this thing. In general, why are people so sick? They think it's normal. We already mentioned before, we think it's normal, for example, in this country to have multiple diagnoses, diabetes, whatever it is, absolutely normal. Nobody even bats an eyelash. Oh yeah, I have diabetes. Okay, this was not normal until very recently. So yeah, I mean, this is just another example of the dark, how well they have done for themselves. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, this is a comment from lightbeing 111. She says, I'm a nurse, but I feel like this field should not exist due to the medication we have to give the patients. But I always feel like I'm a light for the patients, but still, I know herbal medicine is the way to go for anyone to receive true healing. Can you please comment? Me. So she's saying, I feel like this profession should not exist. So she's an example of what the, again, quote unquote, good nurses that we're talking about, meaning not everybody that is in that profession is of the dark, obviously. So she almost feels like, well, it makes no sense that I'm here thinking I want to help people, but then I'm poisoning them. Pretty much that's what she's saying. And that's really what's happening. And of course, this is her way of looking at it. And from a 3D perspective, it makes sense. But at the same time, there are plenty of nurses and doctors happy to poison their patients, but they don't think of it that way. And therefore, are they wrong? We already said you can see reality however you want. So we would just say, if she believes what she does, that herbalism is a better option, then she can be in integrity because she's using high vibrational products to actually heal people or to help people. And again, she's not healing anybody. She knows this. It's the higher self that decides whether our body is going to heal or not. But then, yeah, this is wonderful. But again, there is no judgment. There is no judgment on the other nurses not doing that. But it's obvious that she's on the team of the light. She's a person of the light. And again, that comes with certain willingness to actually become aware of certain things. If she was in the middle or she was leaning toward the dark, she wouldn't even have these questions because she would not be aligned with them. It would never come to her mind that the products they're using, they're toxic because these people who give them, they think they are a marvel of science, and you will not be able to convince them otherwise because you believe whatever you want to believe. We already said it doesn't have to be logic, doesn't have to be based on fact. They can point at anything and say, see, I'm right, because this thing that I saw that might be completely unrelated because it was snowing on Sunday, therefore this thing works. And you were laughing. It doesn't matter what excuse you use. So whatever, basically, we like to sustain our ideas and we like to pretend that there are facts. But there are always facts to prove something, as we said, and the opposite of the same thing. It's just you choosing what facts to use to prop yourself up and say that your idea is correct. In her case, it's not that there are facts out there. Of course, there are facts to support her idea, but there are facts to support the opposite. So it's really her higher self is saying, I refuse to go along with this. So now I'm wondering, what's the point of this profession? Really, what she's wondering is, what should I do? Because of course, there's a point to this profession. In fact, even within that profession, within the dark system, there are people like Carolyn who are making things better for some people. Because if you're a person, you're a patient who wants to experience certain things, you know, thank God that you're running to somebody like Carolyn as opposed to somebody who's completely of the dark and is completely going to destroy you. And a lot of patients, a lot of essences want to experience that destruction. We know in the United States, for example, that medical malpractice, basically medical errors or pharmaceutical overdoses or interactions based on taking these products as instructed. We're not talking about people that did crazy things and took too many pills or took pills they weren't supposed to take. There's a term for this, for basically medical reasons for passing away. It's the number 2 cause of death in the United States. It kills over 100,000 people a year. This is every year dying from medical instructions. So yeah, it is par for the course. Of course, the doctors and the nurses, what do they think of it? Oh, he didn't do well. He didn't react well to this medicine. They never once question and say, maybe I shouldn't be given this, right? Again, you see what you want to see. So yeah, good for Lightbeing that she's being self-aware and we completely understand where her question is coming from. She's looking at this very dark system because she knows it inside and out. And she's saying, why? And yeah, I mean, why? They were laughing because we've lost the balance for a long time. That's why. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, as always, for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.